Part 10. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 91. The sudden gunshot scared all the staff members to squat on the ground, and only one manager pointed to the closed conference room. Crow stepped forward and kicked the door open. Don't move. There were obviously less than 10 people in the conference room, and they all looked at the shotgun in Crow's hand in astonishment. Li Qing stepped forward, patted Crow on the shoulder, and smiled calmly with a calm expression. Tan Cheng. The man opposite him was also fearless and stood up slowly. My friend, is there any misunderstanding? Let's sit down and talk slowly. Why bother with knives and guns? Tan Cheng looked at Li Qing's younger brothers who kept pouring in at the door and said calmly. Li Qing pulled out a chair and pointed at Tan Cheng with the gun in his hand. Sit down, I don't like looking up at people. Tan Cheng sat down and smiled when he heard it, and took a puff of the half-smoked cigarette on the table. I am Li Qing. Just one sentence made Tan Cheng's henchmen take a step back. Obviously, these people have heard of Li Qing's name, but they have never seen him in person. Tan Cheng's eyes flickered, and he knew that he might have annoyed the other party by refusing to meet him before. I have heard about Boss Li's deeds a long time ago, and today I see that he is indeed a rare talent, Tan Cheng complimented. Li Qing waved his hand without any nonsense. John Candon threw the suitcase directly on the table. Take a look, is it yours? Don't say that my big brother wronged you. Opening the suitcase, Tan Cheng saw that the suitcase was full of Hong Kong dollar cash, but it was a pity that it was counterfeit. Boss Li, we are just chipping, as for how customers use it, we can't control it. Tan Cheng spread his hands and pushed it away completely. Customers. The customers had been sunk into the sea by John Candon a long time ago. Looking for them in the sea? Let's not beat around the bush. If you don't give me an explanation today, you can't leave this door, Li Qing said domineeringly. Oh? Boss Li, if you want to cover the sky with one hand in Hong Kong, you also need to look at your strength, right? You don't think you are a policeman? Tan Cheng flicked the ash of his cigar and said with a smile. Brother, I received a message from my little brother downstairs. The police are coming. John Candon bent down and whispered to Li Qing. It turned out that when Li Qing and others went upstairs, Tan Cheng found out and asked someone to call the police. Boss Li, we are a legitimate business. If you come here with a gun to cause trouble, be careful that you will be arrested and put in jail. Tan Cheng spread his hands and said sarcastically. Do you think the police in Hong Kong can protect you? Li Qing stood up, supported his hands on the table, stared at Tan Cheng opposite him, and a trace of fierceness flashed in his eyes. Boss Li, if you don't leave, you will be invited to drink coffee by the police. Tan Cheng gathered his windbreaker, pointed at his watch, and looked at Li Qing teasingly. Li Qing sneered, showing his white teeth. Good, very good. The muzzle of the gun gently tapped Tan Cheng, turned around and walked out. Li Qing stopped Crow, who had opened the safety of the shotgun, and walked out of the door. All the guns, gather them together. Wipe the fingerprints off them, and send a younger brother to take the blame. He knew there was no place to hide so many guns, especially Crow's shotgun. Crow smiled awkwardly at this time, and he also knew that the shotgun was really too big. When the younger brothers heard that they were taking the blame, their eyes lit up. Not only would they have more money to settle down, but they would also have a more comfortable life in prison. After all, New World's foundation in Stanley is not false. Me. Get lost, it's my turn this time, it was you last time. Go away, it's my turn this time. Li Qing looked at the enthusiastic younger brothers, and his head was black. Damn, am I not keeping up with the pace of the times? Back then, it was a lottery. Finally, the police arrested a younger brother for harboring guns. The funny thing is that this younger brother kept thanking the police before he left. The police almost sent him to a mental hospital. Brother, this Sci-fi group is so arrogant. Should we deal with it tonight? Li Qing sat in the car silently, looking out the window, and listening to Crow's nagging. He was also thinking about the Sci-fi group, and he suspected that the Sci-fi group had some relationship with the Sci-fi gang in Wanwan province. But what puzzled him was that he didn't seem to have any conflict with the Sci-fi gang, and the Sci-fi gang didn't participate in the boxing match in Hejiang. We should deal with it, but not now. We need to dig deeper into the details of the Sci-fi group. It's not that simple. An unfathomable look flashed across his face. Stop in front. Li Qing seemed to have seen something that interested him. Brother, Tan Cheng is out. Should we deal with him? Crow looked at Tan Cheng, who walked out of the office building with shining eyes. Especially wearing a windbreaker and a white scarf around his neck, which made Crow feel very angry. But Li Qing's attention was obviously not on Tan Cheng. He stared at the lame man who was cleaning the car downstairs. The lame man saw Tan Cheng's car and quickly stepped forward to wipe it with a rag. Tan Cheng looked at him with a half-smile, took out 350 yuan bills and threw them on the ground. Take them to buy a lunch. The lame man held a half-smoked cheap cigarette in his mouth, a torn towel on his shoulder, and a very reluctant smile on his face. Thank you. After Tan Cheng's car left, he looked around and limped to the ground to pick up the bills. Brother, Tan Cheng is gone. Crow's tone was a little anxious. Huh? Brother? He found that Li Qing was distracted by the lame man who was wiping the car in front of him. He shuddered violently and tried to stay as far away from his boss as possible. I didn't expect that. Brother, how are you doing? Li Qing glanced at Crow. What the hell is your expression like? No, no, Crow swallowed and waved his hand. He was thinking, what if his eldest brother made an unreasonable request to him, would he agree? Or agree? Drive over. Li Qing saw the scene and said something to the driver. The car stopped next to the lame man. The lame man moved his right leg hard, took out the car cleaning tool and stepped forward to clean the window of the car. Rolling down the window, Li Qing looked at the once all-powerful little brother Ma. Your name is Mark. Brother Ma was still wiping the car window, as if he didn't hear Li Qing's question. Hey, my elder brother is asking you something. The co-pilot's Crow couldn't sit still and looked at the lame man in front of him impatiently. Brother Xiao Ma still didn't speak, and pursed his lips tightly, after working for a while. Thank you, boss, CKI 50. Li Qing smiled, took out 1,000 yuan big golden bowl from his pocket and put it in Brother Ma's hand. Brother Ma squirmed. Thank you, boss. Are you interested in sitting down and chatting? Do you want to get back what you lost? Li Xin stared at Brother Ma. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 92. Brother Ma, who had originally planned to turn around and leave, suddenly froze when he heard Li Qing's words. 10 minutes later, Li Qing looked at Brother Ma, who was eating braised pork rice opposite him. Mark, the brother of Song Zihao, the former sales director of Sci-fi Group, is also a middle-level member of Sci-fi Group. How did he get to this point now? Li Qing was not mocking, just sighing. In order to avenge Song Zihao, Xiao Ma killed the person who betrayed his boss. But it destroyed the reputation of Sci-fi Group. Sci-fi Group did not kill him because of his hard work and achievements over the years. Boss, you called me here to ridicule me? That's 1,000 Hong Kong dollars a day, and I'll be here at your call. Brother Xiao Ma chewed the rice in his mouth and looked at Li Qing, who was smoking across from him, and said, My name is Li Qing. Brother Ma, who was cooking rice with a spoon, was stunned after hearing this. Li Qing. How could he not know? Being able to clean cars safely in Mongkok is all because of the rules set by Li Qing. If this were in another club, the job of cleaning the car would have been contracted by the short mules within the club. Brother Ma gently swallowed the food in his mouth. Boss Li, what do you want from me? He knew that a person like Li Qing would not be able to eat with a cripple. Tan Cheng cost my business millions, Li Qing said in a deep voice. Xiao Ma was stunned when he heard this, and then shook his head. He had long known that such a day would come. He and Song Zihao never dispersed Hong Kong dollars in Hong Kong when they were in office. It was for this reason. I don't know when the Buddha will be offended because of counterfeit money. But Tan Cheng had no scruples after taking office, and nothing happened to him when he was young in the past few years. Since last month, I don't know why Tan Cheng has released a large amount of goods, but strangely it has not been circulated in the market. If I had known, he would have taken this step. This person is too greedy. Li Qing raised his eyebrows and glanced at Brother Ma. Would you like to come with me? With you? Brother Ma burst out laughing and patted the iron bar on his right leg. What use is a cripple to you? It's very useful. I'm short of professionals like you. I don't lack people with brains and muscles. Crow, the cook on the side, raised his head and looked at Li Qing blankly. Brother, are you talking about me? Go away, you are also a professional. The crow nodded excitedly and continued to cook. Brother Ma put down the spoon in his hand and thought deeply for a moment. Boss Li, do you believe in God? Li Qing took a deep breath from the cigarette and exhaled a long puff of smoke. The smoke was lingering, and his face was looming like a god. Believe, I am God, and the one who can control his own destiny is God. When Xiao Ma heard this, his eyes were surprised at first, then became more determined, and he suddenly stood up. Even the crow next to him was startled. Brother. Although Xiao Ma is much older than Li Qing, the children of Jianghu have always respected their strength. Li Qing looked at Brother Ma across from him and bowed deeply to him and nodded. Good. The entry on the pony's head shows loyalty value 60%. Okay, Xiaoma, I will leave the counterfeit banknote business in the New World to you to manage from now on. Li Qing drew a picture of the pie. Brother, we don't seem to have this business, right? Crow asked in a low voice. It will be available later. He was beginning to regret giving Zhang Dongzhou a few days off. In less than half a day, he was already annoyed with the crow. He asked his subordinates to prepare an outfit for Xiao Ma and paid him a few months' salary in advance. It was getting late and it started to rain. Li Qing planned to settle down the pony before going home to pay the public rations. Sitting in the car, Xiao Ma looked at the rainy scene outside the car window and felt a little emotional. He hadn't been in a car in 3 years. Brother, stop for a moment. Xiao Ma's eyes narrowed and he suddenly saw a taxi driver on the street who looked like someone he knew well. The driver's brother glanced at Li Qing, who nodded. The Mercedes-Benz stopped on the side of the road, and the pony dragged its legs and ran forward. Li Qing opened the car door, and Wu Wu quickly jumped out from the passenger seat with an umbrella, holding the umbrella for Li Qing. I glanced at the crow curiously. I knew that the crow could jump in through the car window, but I didn't expect that it could jump out. Brother, how? Xiao Ma's voice was trembling, as if he couldn't believe it. Pony. Song Zihao, whose hair was already half bald, looked at Xiao Ma and burst into tears. The brothers who had not seen each other for 3 years hugged each other and cried with joy. Li Qing stood not far away, not disturbing the brothers' meeting. Song Zihao grabbed the pony's hands and looked at the pony up and down. When he saw that the pony's right leg was tied with an iron bar, his face couldn't help but move. Pony, your legs. Xiao Ma smiled and shook his head without speaking. Even if I break one of my legs, I can't compensate you. Song Zihao knelt down and gently stroked the pony's lame leg. Brother Hao, you are finally back. I have been waiting for you for 3 years. 3 years, I want to do it all over again. Xiao Ma said with excitement. With a new boss and Brother Hao, it's not long before he can get his things back. Come, let me introduce you. Before Xiao Ma finished speaking, he was interrupted by Song Zihao. Xiao Ma, stop it. My life is very good now, and I will pay back what I owe you slowly. Xiao Ma's expression went from excitement to shock, then to disbelief, and finally to numbness. You don't owe anything. I never force my friends to do things they don't want to do. I have my own principles. Xiao Ma let go of Song Zihao's hands. He did not expect that after 3 years of waiting, this would be the result. Pony, when is the time to retaliate? Wouldn't it be better to stay away from fights and live an ordinary life? Song Zihao pulled Xiao Ma's sleeves, took out some money with coins from his pocket, and stuffed it into Xiao Ma's pocket. Ordinary people's life? I don't want to be stepped on for the rest of my life. Do you think I'm a beggar? Xiao Ma dropped the money in his pocket on the ground. The rain soaked his hair. He wiped his face and shouted loudly. I have been waiting for 3 years, just to wait for an opportunity. I want to take a breath, not to prove that I am great. I want to tell people that I must get back what I lost. The rain fell harder, but no matter how loud the rain was, it couldn't cover up the pony's roar. Li Qing, who was not far away, watched this scene and listened to Xiao Ma's words, feeling a little touched. Put down your butcher's knife and become a Buddha immediately is nonsense. Only people without strength will comfort themselves with when will retribution be repaid. In this world, powerful people believe that a tooth for a tooth and blood for blood is the truth. Tisk, this Song Zihao is really unjust. Crow held an umbrella beside him and muttered quietly. In fact, he looked down on Song Zihao a little. He used to be a senior executive of the counterfeit banknote group. After serving 3 years in prison, he turned around and became a good person. When people are in the arena, they can't help themselves. There are some things that you can't quit just by saying quit. Crow also knows this truth very well. In his opinion, this Song Zihao is just lying to himself. Move over and put your head in your hands. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 93. At this time, a young man rushed over from the street, took out a .38 and pointed it at Song Zihao. Pull over, put your hands on your head. Aja. The man was Song Zihao's younger brother Song Zija, who had a good relationship with Xiao Ma. I told you to put your hands on your head, didn't you hear? Song Zija pointed a gun at Song Zihao's head. Xiao Ma couldn't stand it anymore and pushed Song Zija away. Are you kidding me? This is your big brother. What big brother? He's a thief. I only know he's a gangster. I'm a policeman and I'm going to catch him. Song Zija looked at his big brother angrily. If it weren't for this good big brother, his father wouldn't have died, and he wouldn't have failed to get promoted. The rain hit Song Zihao's face, his lips turned white, he shook his head slightly, and looked at his own brother with red eyes. Sir, I haven't been a big brother for a long time. Xiao Ma looked at his former big brother so embarrassed, couldn't help the anger in his heart, and pushed Song Zija against the wall. Doesn't he have a name? Ah! Thief. Thief. If he doesn't become a thief, how can he support you? But now Song Zija couldn't listen to any words anymore and pointed the gun at Xiao Ma's forehead. Xiao Ma pulled down Song Zija's arm. I warn you, don't point the gun at my head. If you have the guts, just shoot me to death. Song Zihao hurried forward to dissuade him and said to Song Zija, I know I owe you a lot, give me a chance, okay? Give you a chance, do you know that because of you, I can't get promoted, have you ever given me a chance? Song Zija shouted hoarsely. Oh, so exciting. Crow held an umbrella for Li Qing and watched the scene with some excitement. Li Qing glared at him unhappily. he knew he had to show up at this time. The footsteps woke up the three people who were immersed in their emotions, and they looked at Li Qing at the same time. "Sir, put down the gun, be careful, I will complain to the investigation department about you." Li Qing looked at Song Zija teasingly. In his heart, Song Zija was not highly regarded. He was a somewhat idealistic policeman. When Song Zija saw the person coming, his pupils shrank slightly. Li Qing. Of course he knew Li Qing. After all, the criminal files of New World had piled up like a mountain, but there was no direct evidence of Li Qing's crimes. Even the Hong Kong Serious Crime Unit couldn't do anything to him. "Brother. I'm sorry to make you laugh," Xiao Ma shouted with a smile. Li Qing looked at Xiao Ma with an unnatural expression and shook his head. "Sir, this world is not black and white. Do you believe that you will be promoted immediately with just one phone call from me?" He was telling the truth. After all, New World spends a lot of money every year, and it's not given for free. Song Zija looked at Song Zihao angrily. "You still say you drive a taxi? Do you know who he is?" "He is the boss of New World, the boss of the darkest and most evil gang in Hong Kong, Li Qing." Song Zihao was also stunned on the spot. He had been in prison in Taiwan for 3 years and had just been released from prison and didn't know much about the local forces in Hong Kong. Li Qing did not deny the series of titles, and regarded it as a compliment to him. "Oh, yes, my boss is so awesome," Crow stood up and said while picking his nose. Li Qing glared at him fiercely. "Can you stop talking?" "Sir, is there anything else? If not, we have something important to do." Song Zija glared at Li Qing fiercely. "Li Qing, I will stare at you to death." Li Qing smiled and shook his head. The last person who said this had been burned to ashes. "Aja, Aja." Song Zija ignored Song Zihao's call and turned to walk into the alley. "Brother Hao, let me introduce you, this is my big brother." Xiao Ma was going to introduce Li Qing to Song Zihao. But he was interrupted by Song Zihao waving his hand. "Xiao Ma, you disappoint me so much, stop it. Don't go astray again." Li Qing frowned when he heard this. Does Song Zihao really think he is a good person? "Let's go, Xiao Ma." Li Qing took a deep look at Song Zihao and shook his head. This former big boss was useless. Xiao Ma threw down half of his cigarette butt and followed Li Qing into the car. In the car, Xiao Ma said to Li Qing apologetically, Brother Hao just got out of prison, don't mind." Li Qing smiled lightly and shook his head. "No, you want to escape from the underworld when you are in the underworld, you big brother, ah. The underworld is not something you can hide from." In the next few days, Li Qing transferred a team of younger brothers to work under Xiao Ma. He didn't forget the last time he was defeated by Tan Cheng. "Xiao Ma, you used to be in Sci-fi Group, and you are familiar with the counterfeit banknote business. Since the other side is so arrogant, let's cause him some trouble." Li Qing directly ordered Xiao Ma to do things and deal with all the counterfeit banknote warehouses he knew. Xiao Ma's eyes lit up when he heard this. He had been looking forward to this day for a long time. Now, with the help of the New World's strong soldiers and horses, Xiao Ma has also regained his heroic spirit 3 years ago. These days, he has led his brothers to sweep several places where he knows counterfeit money is hidden. In Chidan, in an inconspicuous courtyard. Suddenly, a burst of gunfire rang out, and the smoke dissipated. Xiao Ma limped in with his brothers. Looking at the enemy personnel who kept falling to the ground and wailing, Xiao Ma raised his head to signal. The brothers understood at the same time and started to shoot one by one. After sporadic gunshots, the enemy had been completely wiped out. "Brother Ma, counterfeiting is really profitable." A younger brother took a roll of counterfeit bills and touched them. They were no different from the real ones. Xiao Ma held a cigarette in his mouth and smiled. "Fakes can't be real, and real ones can't be fake either." After that, he lit a counterfeit bill. used the flame of the counterfeit bill to light the cigarette beside his mouth, and took a deep breath. The younger brother's eyes lit up. Damn, this trick is too cool. No, I want to take a roll too, and show off in front of the girl. Me too. All the younger brothers took some and stuffed them into their arms, thinking about the scene of showing off in front of women. Xiao Ma smiled. Okay, put that box of counterfeit US$ in the car for me, and burn the rest. Tisk tisk, what a pity, if you take them all, I can smoke 10 boxes a day. In this way, Xiao Ma and his younger brothers destroyed 5 or 6 dens in a row. That is to say, his identity was not exposed, otherwise the Hong Kong police would have awarded him the Advanced Individual Award for heroic acts. Tan Cheng, who suffered losses, was not so happy. His counterfeit banknote dens were destroyed one after another, and he had lost millions. The most important thing was that the counterfeit banknotes ordered by customers were now burned. If the headquarters knew about this, he, as a supervisor, would not be able to do his job. Brother Cheng, it's bad. The goods in Chitin were also burned. Tan Cheng rubbed his stinging temples. He was exhausted by this group of people in the past 2 days. There must be an insider, otherwise it would be impossible to guide the location of the counterfeit banknotes so accurately. Go, spend a lot of money to buy information, I want to know who is behind me. Tan Cheng, who was furious, slammed the table and ordered. Unless they burned all the counterfeit banknotes, even if a few of them leaked out, he could find out who was behind it. He wanted to make these people pay the price. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 94. Causeway Bay, Blue Bay Bar. In a dimly lit private room, with only a few candles lit, Crow was hugging a girl and blowing water. He liked this atmosphere, and the candles could help cheer him up. These days, he has been following the boss Li Qing, which is very exciting and has gained a lot of benefits. You don't know, our boss has sex 7 times a night, no problem, that's a very strong fighting power. Crow was blowing water to the younger brother and the girl. Fortunately, Li Qing couldn't hear it, otherwise he would really hit Crow's head. Brother Crow, I'm late, I'll punish myself with 3 glasses of wine. A younger brother walked in and apologized first. Crow glanced. I heard that you are hanging out with Xiao Ma recently, how is it? The younger brother didn't say anything, just smiled mysteriously, and finished the 3 glasses of wine. He took out a brand new big gold bowl from his pocket and lit it on the candle in the surprised eyes of Crow and others. The burning big bowl lit the cigarette at the corner of his mouth, and took a sip intoxicatedly. That posture is simply handsome, especially the burning big bowl, which makes all the girls feel moved. You know, a big bowl is enough for them to be chic for 2 days. Are you crazy? Do you have too much money? The Crow slapped him. Ouch, ouch, stop hitting me, brother Crow, here you go. The younger brother took out a stack of Hong Kong dollars from his pocket and handed it to the Crow. The Crow was happy when he saw it. There is such a good thing? Turned his head and thought, no, with so much money, he would think of honoring me. This can't be fake. Xiao Ma did it? The younger brother nodded aggrievedly. The Crow's eyes lit up. Just now, when the younger brother pretended to be cool, the girl's eyes were shining, and they wanted to throw themselves into his arms. Ahem, I confiscated it. At least leave me one, I want to pretend. Get lost. I don't know when it started, but using banknotes to light cigarettes has slowly and quietly become popular in bars in Hong Kong. Crow is worthy of being the 3rd intellectual in the entire New World besides Dahu and Ergo, and he smelled the business opportunity instantly. He got a box of fake US$ from Xiao Ma Ge by soft and hard work, and quickly distributed them at the price of $100 each. He made a profit of hundreds of thousands in a short period of time. Even Li Qing praised him several times after he found out, which made him really proud for a few days. The Hong Kong branch of Sci-fi Group, Tan Cheng's office. "Brother Cheng, I found it," the younger brother rushed in. "Oh? What's going on? Who is it?" Tan Cheng sat up straight and just stared at the younger brother. "Well, it seems that all the gangsters in Hong Kong are using our counterfeit banknotes." Hearing this, Tan Cheng was shocked. He was not afraid of the Hong Kong gang. He was afraid that a large number of counterfeit banknotes would disrupt Hong Kong's finance. If that happened, there would be financial tycoons who would kill him. "They use it to light cigarettes," the younger brother continued. "Oh." Tan Cheng thought about it and felt something was wrong. "Huh? Light cigarettes? What do you mean by light cigarettes?" "Just light the counterfeit banknotes and then light cigarettes." The younger brother made a move out of thin air. "Ah," Tan Cheng was shocked. The younger brother nodded with certainty. He didn't believe it at first, but he had to believe it when he saw that scene in the bar. Besides, now the big golden bull is no longer classy, and US dollars are becoming popular. The younger brother said speechlessly. "This is the biggest insult to the counterfeit banknote group." The counterfeit banknotes were first scattered from the New World, and the cigarette lighting method also became popular there. Tan Cheng understood everything after hearing this. "Li Qing, Tan Cheng slammed the table heavily. "What else do you have? Say it all at once." This younger brother was panting. Couldn't he finish it all at once? Xiao Ma, who often cleans your car downstairs, seems to have become Li Qing's younger brother. Damn it! He originally wanted to keep Xiao Ma to make him live a life worse than death, but he didn't expect Li Qing to accept this dead cripple. An elderly man pushed the door open, and Tan Cheng looked at the person, stood up immediately, and shouted respectfully, "Mr. Yao." "Hello, Mr. Yao." The younger brother also bowed his head and greeted him. This Mr. Yao is the veteran of the Four Seas Group in Hong Kong. Mr. Yao waved his hand, and the younger brother hurried out. "Aiken, things have been going on for a long time. Some things can't just be instructed by some people in the headquarters. The New World Society is not simple. Others don't know, but Mr. Yao naturally has his own channels. It is said that the thunder god of the Sanlian gang suffered losses at the hands of Li Qing. Mr. Yao, don't worry, it's all small things. I will handle it." Mr. Yao nodded, saying that he had said everything he should say. It was Tan Cheng's business whether to listen or not, and the consequences would naturally be borne by Tan Cheng. Mr. Yao turned around and walked out of the office with a cane. Tan Cheng tried to calm himself down, let Manager Wang come in. A few minutes later, Manager Wang walked into Tan Cheng's office. "I heard that Song Zihao is back." Manager Wang's face flashed with embarrassment. After all, the former boss was quite good to him. "Yeah. Check, where is he?" "Brother Cheng, why are you looking for him? He doesn't even know where to beg for food now." Manager Wang obviously remembered the old relationship and didn't want to involve Song Zihao again. "Yeah? Are you questioning me now?" Manager Wang didn't dare to speak again, just nodded. Tan Cheng was silent for a moment. Although he couldn't move Li Qing or Xiao Ma now, it seemed that someone could. He smiled sinisterly. "You are like this." In the taxi dealership, Song Zihao was chatting with Uncle Hua. He has now truly integrated into the lives of ordinary people. Most of the people in this taxi dealership are people who have been released from prison and have reformed. A group of people have common topics and can talk to each other. Suddenly, several cars stopped at the door of the taxi dealership. A group of people in suits and leather shoes got off the car and bowed to Song Zihao at the same time. "Brother Hao." Song Zihao also knew these people. They were all his younger brothers in the past. "Well, why are you here?" "Brother Hao, go back." Take us with you, a group of younger brothers couldn't help but say. As Song Zihao's direct line, in the past 3 years, they have been bullied by Tan Cheng. Song Zihao shook his head. I have reformed and become a new man, can you let me go, please? A group of people showed disappointment in their eyes. It was obvious that Song Zihao was no longer their big brother 3 years ago. Brother Hao, take care, we are leaving. Tan Cheng asked me to give you this phone. A group of younger brothers returned disappointed. Song Zihao held the phone, not knowing what he was thinking. Suddenly, the phone rang. Brother Hao, you are out of prison and you don't come to the company to sit down. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 95. Song Zihao heard a familiar voice on the other side. A Cheng. I have withdrawn from the world, please don't bother me again. This is about your brother and pony. You can come or not as you please. There was no other way, Song Zihao had no choice but to get up and go to the Sihai branch. As soon as he walked into the company, all his former subordinates stood up and said hello. Brother Hao. Brother Hao, you are back. That's great, Brother Hao. When Tan Cheng heard a shout of Brother Hao outside, he felt as if thorns were being stabbed into his heart. Unexpectedly, after Song Zihao was imprisoned for 3 years, so many people would express their kindness to him. It seems that this person must not be kept. Ah Cheng, I didn't expect you to become a supervisor. Song Zihao walked into Tan Cheng's office and said with a smile. Brother Hao, long time no see. If it weren't for you, I would have been in jail. Tan Cheng also hypocritically stepped forward and hugged Song Zihao. The main reason I called you here this time is to ask if your brother is interested in participating in our business. Tan Cheng looked at Song Zihao with a smile, knowing that Song Zihao would definitely not agree. The reason why he said this was to force Song Zihao to submit. Akin, for the sake of past friendship, please don't mess with my brother and Xiao Ma anymore. When Tan Cheng heard Song Zihao's words, he no longer concealed his emotions. Do you know that your brother has been messing with me these past 3 years? And that pony, if it wasn't for your sake, I would have driven him away. Now he's following Li Qing to do my business, what do you want me to do? Tan Cheng stood up suddenly, slapped the table and said angrily. A Cheng, if you don't mess with others, how can they mess with you for no reason? Obviously Song Zihao also knew some inside information, and Mr. Yao wanted to invite him back to the company more than once. Brother Hao, please think about it for me. What can I do if my superiors tell me to do something? Tan Cheng's tone softened again. Just help me, persuade Xiaoma, and persuade your brother to stop messing with me. Obviously Tan Cheng knew Song Zihao's weakness of attaching importance to love and justice, otherwise he wouldn't have taken all the charges himself and let himself escape. Ah Cheng, stop it. There will be no good results in this business. Song Zihao said earnestly. Tan Cheng looked at him in surprise. Unexpectedly, the big boss who caused bloodshed in the world would actually persuade him to put down the butcher knife. Tan Cheng put away his aggrieved expression and said teasingly, Brother Hao, I didn't expect that after 3 years in prison, I learned to eat fast and chant Buddha's name. Don't forget, you have more human blood on your hands than I do. Indeed, Song Zihao and Xiao Ma are currently killing people in order to expand overseas business. Song Zihao suddenly raised his head and looked at Tan Cheng, who was also shocked by the boss temperament he naturally exuded. Ah Cheng, it's okay for you to mess with me, but if you dare to mess with my brother and my friends, I will let you die without a burial place. Song Zihao said solemnly. Tan Cheng seemed to have returned to the days when he was dominated by Song Zihao 3 years ago. After coming back to his senses, he became angry from shame. He didn't expect that Song Zihao would dare to show his authority as the boss now. Brother Hao, this place is no longer 3 years ago. Believe it or not, I can't let you out of this door. The office door was kicked open suddenly. What a loud tone, let's see how you can't let people out of this door. Li Qing walked in slowly with Xiao Ma, pushed away the stunned Tan Cheng, sat on the boss's chair, and crossed his legs. It turns out that Song Zihao's former younger brother, manager Wang, had secretly passed the news to Xiao Ma because of their past friendship. Seeing that Song Zihao was in danger, Xiao Ma asked Li Qing specifically. Only then did the above scene occur. Li Qing, this is my family matter, you are a little too lenient. Tan Cheng said with an annoyed look. Huh, family matter? It seems that Mr. Song Zihao is not from your company now. Li Qing looked sideways at Tan Cheng, not hiding his disdain for Tan Cheng at all. In the movie of his previous life, he knew that this person was duplicitous and a refined egoist. A standard villain, if it weren't for Xiao Ma's sake, he wouldn't have come here and would have just found an opportunity to kill him. And I'm here because you're doing my business, not for anything else. Li Qing stretched out his index finger and waved it. Then, he said jokingly, you don't think that what happened last time will be forgotten, right? By the way, weren't you checking for counterfeit banknotes recently? Don't doubt it, it was me who did it. When Tan Cheng heard this, he was almost furious. Martyr had known for a long time that it was Li Qing who did it, and he was angry that this man actually admitted it in front of him. Speaking of counterfeit money, Li Qing also scratched his head. These guys were so capable of causing trouble. They would light cigarettes with counterfeit money every day, and even a blind person would know that it was the New World. You. Tan Cheng rolled his eyes angrily and took a deep breath. He knew he couldn't be impulsive at this time. Last time he secretly informed the police officer, but this time he couldn't guarantee that the little brother outside would be so clever. What's more, Li Qing has learned to be smart this time. He didn't bring a gun at all. It's useless for you to call the police. At most, he will be charged with picking quarrels and provoking trouble. What can you do to me? What? You don't accept it? If you don't accept it, just bear with me. This is Xiangjiang and this is Mongkok. Li Qing stood up and stared at Tan Cheng with burning eyes. Tan Cheng took a step back unconsciously. He was already frightened by Li Qing at this time. If it weren't for the wrong location, the person opposite might really kill him. He was also regretful in his heart. He should have known not to agree to the senior executive of Sci-fi Group. Off, don't worry, I will slowly kill you. Patting Tan Cheng's face, Li Qing turned and walked out. Xiao Ma quickly pulled Song Zihao and followed Li Qing and others to leave Sci-fi Group. Only after Li Qing and others left did he dare to let out a long breath and loosen the buttons on his collar. After calming down for a while, Tan Cheng thought for a moment, took out his mobile phone and dialed a number. Brother Ren, I can't hold on any longer. Li Qing's power is too big. I can't handle it. It turned out that everything Tan Cheng did was remotely directed by Brother Ren, the unknown boss of Sci-fi Group. Ah Cheng, if Li Qing can't be handled, you can deal with his younger brother. I heard that the police in Taiwan are working with Interpol in the United States to investigate the Fenglan Pavilion incident that year. Before Brother Ren on the opposite side finished speaking, Tan Cheng understood what he meant. But Brother Ren, Li Qing. Ah Cheng, your position is no longer secure. Mr. Yao from Hong Kong has proposed to the board of directors that Song Zihao should be the director of Hong Kong again. Tan Cheng was shocked when he heard this. He had worked so hard to get the position of director. He had served Mr. Yao a lot, but he didn't expect that Mr. Yao had never praised him. Brother Ren on the opposite side made another bewitching voice, as long as you get rid of Lame Ma, you will be transferred back to Taiwan. Taiwan is not his territory, Li Qing. Okay, since Brother Ren thinks highly of me, I will definitely get rid of Xiao Ma. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 96. Tan Cheng showed a sinister expression on his face. Lame ma, it's your bad luck to follow such a boss. At this time, an old employee with some experience walked in. Brother Cheng, there is no need for us to conflict with New World. At most, we will lose a few million. Get lost, Tan Cheng yelled. In fact, he also knew in his heart that it was an unwise choice to conflict with Li Qing, but the arrow was on the string and had to be shot. Li Qing, let's see if you can protect this dead cripple. Now he only thought about how to get rid of Lame Ma and make things difficult for Li Qing, and he didn't listen to any advice at all. Li Qing and others walked out of the Sihai branch. Xiao Ma quickly pulled Song Zihao and came to Li Qing to express his gratitude. Thank you, Brother Qing, this time. Song Zihao was not ungrateful. Thank you, Xiao Ma. The road of Jianghu is not something you can quit just because you want to. Li Qing looked at the prodigal in front of him and sighed in his heart. This road is not easy. Li Qing turned around and left with a group of younger brothers. Xiao Ma also waved his hand and said goodbye to Song Zihao. Brother Hao, take care. One continues to fight in the underworld, and the other lives a plain life. Perhaps this is the most satisfactory ending, but will the ending be what everyone wants? No one knows. Tan Cheng was still upset, especially when he thought of what Mr. Yao had done, which made him furious. He has been working under Mr. Yao for these years. He cannot be said to be outstanding in ability, but he has also made great contributions. He did not expect Mr. Yao to turn his face against him. Come on, prepare the car. Tan Cheng said to his trusted younger brother. Half an hour later, Tan Cheng drove to Mr. Yao's residence. Mr. Yao Tan Cheng greeted him flatteringly. A thin, white-haired old man glanced at Tan Cheng, put down the newspaper in his hand, and took off his glasses. Tan Cheng, it's so late, why do you come to see me? Obviously, Mr. Yao was a little dissatisfied with Tan Cheng's arrival. Tan Cheng saw the expression on Mr. Yao's face and gritted his teeth. Mr. Yao, in the past 3 years, I, Tan Cheng, have made no contributions but have worked hard, right? Why do you still recommend Song Zihao? He finally couldn't help but speak out his true feelings. Mr. Yao said with a half smile, Ah Cheng, Ah Hao has done a good job in being loyal. He has been in prison for 3 years, but he has not betrayed anyone or revealed any company secrets. What about you? Don't think that I don't know that you are hooking up with Aaron at the headquarters. Mr. Yao had long known that Tan Cheng was not a loyal younger brother, and he would not even let him touch the floppy disk for making banknotes. When Tan Cheng heard this, his expression froze. Haha, Mr. Yao, you have not even let me touch the floppy disk for 3 years, and you don't allow me to have second thoughts. His tone was completely different from the respectful one just now. Since the words have come to this point, he didn't hide it anymore and started to tear his face apart. Anyway, he didn't want Mr. Yao to get out alive today. Ayong, see you out. Mr. Yao looked at Tan Cheng with contempt. This man was too narrow-minded and greedy. The tall and strong bodyguard stood up. Please come in, Mr. Tan. Okay. Tan Cheng smiled and said hello, then took out a gun from his arms and shot the bodyguard dead. He then shot Mr. Yao in the chest 3 times. Until he saw Mr. Yao die, he took out the photos of Song Zihao and Xiao Ma from his pocket and said to the servant, just say that these 2 people killed Mr. Yao. If anyone dares to tell what happened today, I will send someone to kill you. The 2 servants were trembling with fear, looked up at the photos, and nodded quickly. 2 special guests came to Zhang Kongbang's office in the Hong Kong Kowloon Serious Crime Unit. Master, let me introduce you, this is Smith from Interpol, and this is Officer Mok from Taiwan Province. Zhang Kongbang greeted the 2 for a while and knew their purpose. The purpose is to collect evidence of Xiao Ma Ji's crimes and arrest him. After all, Xiao Ma Ji's bloodbath at Fenglan Pavilion 3 years ago killed more than a dozen people. Taiwan province cannot ignore it. This time, in order to put pressure on Hong Kong, Interpol was invited to join. Zhang Chongbang listened to the analysis of the two in detail and said, "The problem now is that this mark has no criminal record in Hong Kong. There is one thing he hasn't said yet, that is, the current boss of Xiao Ma is Li Qing, and it is really not easy to touch Xiao Ma. This is a problem." Mok lowered his head and thought. Hong Kong and Taiwan do not have an extradition treaty. If Xiao Ma has no criminal record in Hong Kong, the Hong Kong police will not cooperate. Moreover, the police in Taiwan have no law enforcement power in Hong Kong, and they can't catch Xiao Ma at all. Master. A murder occurred in the Clearwater Bay Villa. A police officer whispered in Zhang Chongbang's ear. General Manager Yao of Sci-fi Group was killed. Zhang Chongbang was stunned when he heard this. He knew that Mr. Yao was the superior of Xiao Ma and Song Zihao before. The main reason is that this matter is too coincidental. Song Zihao was released from prison not long ago, and Xiao Ma followed Li Qing not long ago, which is very likely related to this matter. Mr. Mok, let's talk about our business tomorrow. I have a case here and I will deal with it first. Zhang Chongbang frowned and said with a smile. Mok and the other two were also very considerate, and the three of them agreed to meet again tomorrow. Qingshui Bay, Mr. Yao's villa. Zhang Chongbang put his hands on his waist and looked at Mr. Yao's body on the ground. He was shot 3 times, and I'm afraid he can't be killed. It seems that there is a high possibility of revenge killing. Master, these are 2 witnesses. Zhang Chongbang looked at the 2 servants who were still a little weak in the legs. You saw several people kill Mr. Yao. 2 Apparently the 2 servants were frightened by Tan Cheng and lied. Do you know who it is? It seems to be a horse or something. Mr. Yao said it in a quarrel with him. Zhang Chongbang rubbed his chin and thought, what horse? Pony. With a flash of light in his eyes, he took out 2 photos from the police officer. Is it these 2 people? The 2 servants looked at the photo and nodded guiltily. It's them. Apply for an arrest warrant and start arresting Song Zihao and Xiao Ma, Zhang Chongbang said to the investigating police officers. Yes, Lord. Brother, there are a lot of tips coming, wanting to catch the pony. Crow hurried into Li Qing's office. Li Qing was stunned for a moment when he heard this, frowned and thought for a moment. Recently, he asked Xiao Ma to sweep away counterfeit banknotes. It seems that he didn't leave any clues, right? Even if there was any, it was completely burned by a fire. Tell Xiao Ma to go first, and I'll go see what's going on. Under the cover of a group of younger brothers, Xiao Ma escaped from the secret grid. There was a lot of noise outside, with many young men surrounding the police and shouting. Stop making noise, what's going on? Li Qing came out and asked. When the big brother spoke, all the younger brothers fell silent. Li Qing, please get out of the way, you guys, and don't hinder our work. Otherwise, we will take you back to the police station. Zhang Chongbang stood up and said to Li Qing. When the boys around heard that someone was going to be arrested, their eyes lit up, and they clearly said, catch me, arrest me. Sir Zhang, long time no see, you are still full of energy, Li Qing greeted. Li Qing, hand over the pony. Sir Zhang, Xiao Ma is on a business trip. If you want to find him, you have to go to Java. Li Qing spread his hands and expressed that he was helpless. Okay, I can't find Xioma to catch you. Mr. Yao from the Sci-fi Group is dead, and I have reason to suspect that you are suspected of instigating murder. Come with me, Li Xin. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 97. Li Qing looked at Zhang Chongbang, tilted his head and smiled. Sir Zhang, you want to ask me to go back to the police station? Let me see the arrest warrant. If you want me to assist in the investigation and explain the reason, I might consider it. He has been to the police station more than once or twice, so he knows everything inside. Mr. Yao of Sci-fi Group was killed at home last night. Mark is a major suspect. You, as his boss, can't wash off the suspicion. Li Qing heard this, his eyes condensed. The real helmsman of Sci-fi branch died? Then he smiled. Sir Zhang, it's really not Xiao Ma. Xiao Ma and I both have proof of absence last night. The employees in the company can testify for us. If you don't believe it, you can check the surveillance. Indeed, Li Qing and Xiao Ma discussed the construction of a counterfeit banknote company until late at night last night, and they were all resting in the company. Zhang Chongbang signaled the police officer next to him to adjust the surveillance. I warn you, Li Qing, don't play any tricks. Li Qing shrugged, looking indifferent. 15 minutes later, the police officer came back and whispered something in Zhang Chongbang's ear. After hearing this, Zhang Chongbang looked at Li Qing in surprise. He didn't expect that it wasn't Li Qing who was behind this. If you see Xiao Ma, ask him to come to the police station to cooperate with the investigation. Two servants identified Song Zihao and Xiao Ma as the murderers. If he doesn't come, he will become a fugitive. After Zhang Chongbang finished speaking, he took the police officer away. Servant, Li Qing muttered in a low voice. Looking at Zhang Chongbang's back, Li Qing's expression began to darken. He knew that someone was obviously stirring up trouble. Another team of people also stopped Song Zihao, who was about to go to work at the car dealership. Song Zihao, we are the serious crime team. You are suspected of killing Mr. Yao of Sci-fi Group. Here is an arrest warrant. Come with us. Song Zihao looked at the arrest warrant in astonishment. What, Mr. Yao is dead? Sir, are you mistaken? I was driving all night last night. Please go back with us to investigate, the police officer said without question. Song Zihao was silent for a while, slowly took off his gloves, and came to Uncle Hua to speak but stopped. Go to the police station and explain the problem clearly. Since you have chosen to reform, you must persist. Uncle Hua patted Song Zihao on the shoulder. Song Zihao nodded. Sir, you don't need to wear handcuffs just to assist in the investigation, right? Seeing the young police officer take out handcuffs, he said with a grim face. Mainly because he was afraid that his brother would find out and cause misunderstandings again. The older police officer waved his hand. Forget it, let's go. The group quickly left the car dealership. Tan Cheng, who was sitting in the car on the street, chuckled at Song Zihao, who was taken away by the police. Let's go. Criminal squad, interrogation room. Song Zihao, we meet again. Song Zihao looked at the person in front of him and said in surprise, Sheriff Mok. It turned out that Mok was in Taiwan province and asked Song Zihao to persuade Xiao Ma to return to Taiwan and surrender more than once. It goes without saying that he must have come for Xiao Ma's matter. Song Zihao, don't you want to say something? Sheriff Mok looked at Song Zihao and said softly. Sheriff Mok, don't worry, I won't betray my friends. Mok wanted to use him to prosecute Xiao Ma, that was wishful thinking. When Mok found him, he promised to reduce his sentence as long as he could be a tainted witness. Mok shook his head and walked out. He admired the friendship between the two from the bottom of his heart. One of them single-handedly slaughtered Fenglin Pavilion in order to avenge his boss, the other would never betray his brother. Zhang Chongbang walked in again, looked at Song Zihao and knocked on the table. Song Zihao, now Mr. Yao's servants accuse you of murder. Do you have any alibi? Everyone in the car dealership can testify for me. Song Zihao said frankly. In fact, Zhang Chongbang was also confused. Xiao Ma and Song Zihao both had alibis, and the servants said that Mr. Yao was killed by two people, so there must be something fishy. Bang Zhu, a police officer from the Serious Crime Squad came in and hurriedly whispered something in Zhang Kongbang's ear. Zhang Kongbang looked at Song Zihao in surprise and said to the police officer, "You go out first. Mr. Song Zihao, your brother Song Zija was injured while on duty and is now being treated in the hospital. Given that you have evidence of your absence." Song Zihao felt his head buzzing and he could no longer hear what Zhang Kongbang said afterwards. "How is my brother? Which hospital is he in?" After leaving the police station, Song Zihao hurried to the Royal Hospital. Looking at Song Zija lying unconscious on the bed, his heart was broken. He felt very guilty about his father's death, but he didn't expect his brother to be injured again. He gently stroked his brother's pale face due to excessive blood loss. "Aja!" With a clang, Xiao Ma hurriedly limped in. "Brother, how is Aja?" He just knew that Aji was in trouble, so he hurried over. Li Qing walked slowly behind him. He had felt something was wrong. It was meaningless for Tan Cheng to let the servants identify Xiao Ma and Song Zihao. Both of them had evidence of not being there. The only purpose was to mislead the police and restrict Xiao Ma and Song Zihao. "Boss Li, you are here too." Li Qing nodded and asked the crow behind him to bring Mr. Yao's two servants in. The two servants were frightened by the crow, and they confessed everything in a few minutes. Mr. Yao was killed by Tan Cheng, and he deliberately used the servants to frame you. Li Qing pointed at the two servants and said in a deep voice. But he has not guessed Tan Cheng's real intention yet. Brother, save Jackie." Song Zija tried to open his eyes and said weakly. Song Zihao and Xiao Ma rushed to Song Zija. "Aja, you take your time. It's Tan Cheng." It turned out that Tan Cheng sent someone to beat up Song Zija, who was shopping with Jackie, and kidnapped Jackie. "Tan Cheng wants you to take the banknote floppy disk to Zishawan Wharf for trading." When Li Qing heard the word floppy disk, his eyes flashed. It seems that Song Zihao has a lot of secrets. Song Zihao's face was ashen, and Xiao Ma didn't know about the banknote floppy disk. The banknote floppy disk involves too many people, and even some bigwigs in the headquarters are coveting it. "Boss Li, I have to trouble you again this time." Song Zihao stood up and said apologetically. Li Qing knew what he meant. It was nothing more than using him to rescue Jackie. He nodded and was also happy to help. Sometimes the debt of favor is the hardest to repay. "Get the stuff ready, Zishawan Wharf." Li Qing turned to Crow and told him, and Crow hurried down to make arrangements. Xiao Ma looked at Li Qing gratefully, and was very moved. After all, he had just joined the New World not long ago, because Li Qing had helped several times. Li Qing seemed to have some feelings and looked at the entry above Xiao Ma's head, loyalty value 90%. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 98. Zishawan Pier late at night. Tan Cheng and his younger brother held a gun and carefully observed the movement. There is a speedboat parked behind him. As long as he gets the money-making floppy disk, he can kill Xiao Ma and Song Zihao and take the boat directly to the high seas. I just received a call that Brother Ren's ship has arrived on the high seas. But he wasn't sure whether Song Zihao would come. After all, she was just Song Zija's girlfriend. In fact, they wanted to kidnap Song Zija at that time. Unexpectedly, Song Zija even carried a gun when picking up girls. "Don't move, I'll kill you if you move again." Tan Cheng looked at Jackie, who was tied up with a rope, and said. At this time, two people slowly walked up to the pier. It was Xiao Ma and Song Zihao. Song Zihao found the money-making floppy disk from the mezzanine of Mr. Yao's bookcase and hurried over with Xiao Ma. Li Qing, with Crow and others, was lying in ambush not far away. In the dead of night, the tense atmosphere spread, mainly because neither side knew where the other was. "Brother, I want to pee," Crow whispered as he lay next to Li Qing. Li Qing rolled his eyes when he heard this. "Mard, I told you to stop dating women. Look what you have become now. Go quickly. The crow crawled back a few meters, stood up and hid behind a coconut tree to relieve himself. Suddenly there was the sound of rustling footsteps in his ears, on the edge of the beach. Crow raised his head and saw 6 or 7 people walking towards this way from a distance. Don't say I didn't warn you. It's best to stay away and be careful if stray bullets hit you. Crow picked his nose and looked at the person coming. When the young man behind saw how arrogant the crow was, he wanted to go up and teach him a lesson. But he was stopped by the leader. Don't worry about it, he clearly saw the pistol in Crow's waist. The leader was young, but it could be seen in his eyes that he had a disregard for life. Li Qing heard a rustling sound from behind, and soon a crow crawled over. It's so far away, why are you afraid of just walking over here? Li Qing looked at the crow next to him with a dark look on his face. Brother, I feel that crawling over here will give me the feeling of gunpowder smoke on the battlefield. By the way, I just saw a few second strokes, heading that way. Li Qing looked in the direction pointed by the crow. Because the night was too dark, he could vaguely see a few figures, but didn't pay much attention. Brother, are the 6 men and 1 woman having a silver party? Crow said excitedly. Go away, if you rub your fingers on me again, I will throw you into the sea and feed you to the fish. Li Xin glared at Crow. At this time, Xiao Ma and Song Zihao had already reached the trestle. Tan Cheng, I brought the floppy disk you asked for. Let Jackie go. Song Zihao raised the white floppy disk in his hand. Hearing this, Tan Cheng looked around carefully, then felt a little relieved and said, throw the floppy disk over. Betting set. Let the people go first, Xiao Ma said loudly, smoking a cigarette. How do I know if the floppy disk is real? Tan Cheng said with a smile. It's been 3 years and you don't know what a floppy disk looks like, even Song Zihao asked a little strangely. Ahem, how is that possible? Tan Cheng glanced at the white floppy disk with a guilty conscience. Mad, I wonder what I can tell you. Let's exchange together. Tan Cheng said casually to avoid long nights and dreams. Good. One party is dragging the person, and the other is approaching cautiously with a plate. The tense atmosphere made Crow feel the need to urinate again. Brother, I want to. No, you don't want to, Li Qing said angrily. Maid, the lazy donkey poops and urinates a lot. I won't bring crows out to do things next time. Introduce him to Ding Qing when you have time. Just when the two sides were still 1 meter away, bursts of gunfire suddenly came from behind Li Qing. Li Qing was suddenly startled. Mayday, you hunt geese all day long, could it be possible that you were ambushed by Tan Cheng today? He gritted his teeth. Maid, kill Tan Cheng first and then talk. Him. All the boys stood up and fired in Tan Cheng's direction. When Tan Cheng saw Li Qing rushing towards him, he quickly pushed Jackie away, picked up the floppy disk, turned around and ran towards the speedboat. Brother, I was shot. Hearing the sound of crows, Li Qing was shocked. Although he fought against crows all day long, he was still a brother from Stanley, and he still had 100% loyalty. Looking back, Crow was holding his buttocks, blood continuously overflowing from the seam of his hands. Go back and deal with the back first, Li Qing said angrily. Some boys were also jealous. After the death of the crow, who would take them to prostitute? The heroine of men must pretend for free. Each and every one of them rushed forward with their axe in hand, as if they were full of chicken blood. But gradually Li Qing realized that something was wrong. This group of people seemed to have been shooting to the side, and gunshots were heard nearby. Li Qing thought of the 6 men and 1 woman mentioned by Crow just now, and looked at Crow's butt again. Most of the bullet was embedded in the flesh, and only the smaller half was exposed. Is this a humming stray bullet? But now it's too late to stop the younger brothers. In order to avenge their beloved brother Crow, they have almost killed all the opponents. 3 of the 6 men and 1 woman beside him were also injured, and they walked toward Li Qing with support. As soon as the boys saw that the man had a gun in his hand, they all became alert. "Brother, thank you for your help." Li Qing nodded expressionlessly. "I didn't want to help. Oh, big brother, help me call a white car." The unsatisfied crow bowed his waist, covered his buttocks and howled. "Brother, don't you look dark wearing sunglasses at night?" Crow actually had the mind to ask if the other side was dark. "Don't mind, let's go together." Li Qing pointed at the 3 injured brothers on the other side. "Thank you for your kindness. My name is Tian Yangsheng." Tian Yangsheng clasped his fists. Li Qing had handed over the matter of Tian Yangsheng and Crow to other brothers. Li Qing took Xiao Ma and Song Zihao on the speedboat and chased in the direction of Tan Cheng's escape. He must kill Tan Cheng today. Li Qing's speedboat is worthy of being used to avoid the Coast Guard. It is much faster than ordinary civilian speedboats. Finally, near the high seas, he saw the shadow of Tan Cheng. Tan Cheng also heard the sound of the motor of the speedboat behind him, and he picked up the submachine gun in his hand and started shooting at Li Qing. Xiao Ma and others were not to be outdone and raised their guns to fight back. In fact, at this distance, it is just a blind shot, seeing who has more bullets and better luck. As expected, luck was on Li Qing's side. The guy driving the boat on the opposite side was shot in the head by Xiao Ma. Tan Cheng's speedboat suddenly stopped, and the most fatal thing was that he had run out of bullets. At this time, a cruise ship came not far away, which made Tan Cheng ecstatic. He knew that it was Brother Ren who came to pick him up. But at this time, the speedboat of Li Qing and others had arrived. "Damn it," Xiao Ma dragged his lame leg to climb onto the opposite speedboat and hit Tan Cheng's head with the butt of the gun. "Brother Qing, spare my life." Tan Cheng also knew that the opposite side was led by Li Qing. At this time, the yacht also drove not far away. A person appeared from the yacht, and it seemed to be the so-called Brother Ren. "Li Qing, let Tan Cheng go. I can forgive you for killing my brother." Whose crotch was not tied properly and exposed you, the distance was too far, and the light was dim, so he couldn't see the opposite side clearly. Li Qing didn't tolerate it at all. He knew that the person who came should be from the headquarters of Wan Sihai Group. Several automatic rifles appeared on the yacht. Li Qing looked at them with contempt. According to the power of the rifle bullets, they could not penetrate his skin at all, not to mention that they were dozens of meters away. He waved to the younger brother on the speedboat, and the younger brother nodded in understanding. In the astonished eyes of Xiao Ma, Tan Cheng, and Song Zihao, he took out the RPG from the box under the seat. Without saying a word, Li Qing picked up the rocket launcher and fired at the yacht opposite. Ren Ji on the yacht was so surprised that his eyes almost popped out. Swoosh! The rocket with the red tail flame blasted towards the yacht. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 99. Unfortunately, the rocket missed its target and hit the yacht more than 10 meters away. Tan Cheng looked at Li Qing in fear. This person is really cruel, Brother Ren said one sentence from the beginning to the end. Oh no, 2 sentences. One more shot. Li Qing looked at the fire with an unsatisfied look. Brother, it's gone. The younger brother whispered weakly. Indeed, the speedboat is so big, how can it possibly fit inside it? Li Qing, I am Celine Mua. National curse. Brother Ren stuck his head out with a dark face and yelled. This Li Qing is crazy. He takes action before he can even say a few words. He doesn't understand any rules of the world. Of course Li Qing understood Wan's Hokkien dialect, so he took the AK from his younger brother's hand and swept it over. Brother Ren was so frightened that he quickly shrank back and didn't dare to raise his head for a while, for fear that the other party would fire another rocket. "Let's go, go quickly." Brother Ren gritted his teeth and yelled from his younger brother lying next to him. After looking at the yacht on the opposite side that was getting further away, Li Qing had no intention of catching up. After all, he had no rockets and he wouldn't get any advantage if he fired with a rifle. Tan Cheng watched the yacht gradually move away in despair, knowing that he was going to be doomed. "Wang Ren, I'll hum your mother." Li Qing looked at Tan Cheng, who was slumped on the speedboat in despair. "Give me 2 minutes to say your last words." "Brother Qing, spare your life." "Spare your life." Seeing Li Qing indifferent, he turned to kowtow to Xiao Ma and Song Zihao. "Brother Xiao Ma, brother Hao, I was wrong, let me go, let me go." Xiao Ma didn't respond and just smoked a cigarette and looked at Tan Cheng with disdain. Some debt still had to be repaid. Song Zihao was different, his expression was obviously hesitant. "Boss Li," Song Zihao said calmly. Li Qing's eyes flashed with displeasure. This Song Zihao was so indecisive. He didn't know how he became a senior executive of Sci-fi Group in the first place. Xiao Ma glanced at Li Qing and quickly pulled Song Zihao's sleeve to signal him to stop talking. Li Qing said nothing, and the younger brother next to him was also smart and stabbed Tan Cheng in the chest without saying a word. Tan Cheng felt a pain in his chest and knew he would not survive. He looked at Li Qing with malicious eyes. "Li Qing, I'll wait for you below." He, if you offended Wang Ren, will the landlord let you go?" After saying that, he collapsed, his pupils slowly dilated, and he became silent. Li Qing frowned slightly when he heard this, Landowners Association. This was the first time he heard the name Landowners Association and he didn't know what kind of organization it was. It seems that Wang Ren has a close relationship with the landlord. "Let's go." Li Qing shook his head, no longer thought about it, and directly ordered. After finishing his work, Li Qing took his younger brother and sailed away from the high seas. In the black hospital designated by the New World, Crow was on an intravenous drip and looked sideways at the person on the bed opposite. "So, I was brought into harm's way by you." Crow just learned the truth from the other party's mouth. Tian Yangshen glanced at Crow, who was lying on his side on the bed. "You were hit by a stray bullet from the other side. It has nothing to do with us." When Crow heard this, he looked at the cold expression on Tian Yangshen's face and became unhappy. "I'm so eager to remind you not to get hit by a stray bullet. You're still not a human being. Why are you so cold-blooded?" When he thought of stray bullets, he felt his butt began to hurt again. Damn Tuzi, this week's plan to go to Dahu and Urgu for free was over. At this time, Li Qing had just arrived. "Hey, the crow is so loud, it seems nothing serious." Li Qing looked at the crow lying on his side amusedly. "But what I was thinking in my heart was, the crow, who is so miserable, can finally be quiet for a while." "Brother, what's your expression?" Li Qing ignored the crow and looked at Tian Yangshen seriously. "Your name is Tian Yangshen." Tian Yangshen nodded. "Thank you very much, I will repay this favor." Crow held his head in his hands, looked at Tian Yangshen and interrupted, "Why pay back? Let me tell you, my boss has 2 hobbies, one is to recruit women, and the other is to recruit younger brothers. Are you quite a woman, or a little brother?" Li Qing looked at Crow lying on his side on the bed like a mermaid with a dark look, and almost couldn't help but kick him. Then he saw Crow tilting his mouth and smiling obscenely at Tian Yangshen, the only woman among the 7 brothers and sisters. Taking a deep breath, Li Qing slapped Crow on the forehead. "How dare you smile crookedly, you think you are the Dragon King?" The crow was immediately stunned. "I just smiled. What does it have to do with the Dragon King?" Tian Yangshen frowned slightly when he heard Crow's words. The 7 brothers and sisters were all mercenaries trained by the Soviet Union. Since the disintegration of the Soviet Union, The money has been smuggled here and there over the years, and this time the money has been smuggled by the people behind the scenes. It's really a bit frustrating. The reason why people dare to blackmail him is because they are not afraid of stragglers like them. Good. Tian Yangsheng answered simply. Ga Crow covered his head and didn't react for a moment. He just casually said why the other party agreed. I'm just saying, just kidding, can my boss just accept a younger brother of unknown origin? The price will drop. Before Wu Wu finished speaking, Li Qing smiled and nodded at Tian Yangsheng. I agree. Because the moment Tian Yangsheng made the decision, the entry was displayed above his head, but it was only loyalty value 50%. But Li Qing is still very pleased that the addition of the 7 Tian Yangshen people has solved the current shortcomings of the new world. It's almost the 21st century. The gangsters in Taiwan province have upgraded their equipment, but the people in Xiangjiang are still holding machetes and steel pipes. It's too embarrassing. Tian Yangsheng has 7 people, so they can train them and let their subordinates do some military training. Crow looked at Li Qing in confusion, then turned to look at Tian Yangsheng, and suddenly felt that this world was too crazy. In the past, Big Brother Li Qing didn't accept a little brother for half a year, but now he accepted Tian Yangsheng and others after just meeting them once. Big Brother, you have changed, Crow said aggrievedly. Back then, he served for a long time in Stanley before Li Qing agreed to let him join. Okay, stop playing tricks. I told Dahu that when you recover from your injury this time, let him open a silver party for you. Li Qing said to Crow, who looked aggrieved. There is no way. Who doesn't have a useless child in their family, what can he do? Protect him well. Woo woo, Big Brother, I'm so touched. I want Porto. Li Qing's face was dark. Porto was hired by Dahu and Ergu from Japan with a high salary. If Crow plays badly, Dahu and Ergu will come to him to cry again. Get lost. Li Qing directly stayed away from the unreliable Crow and chatted with Tian Yangsheng. It turned out that the scene of the gunfight on the beach was the mastermind behind the scenes. If it weren't for Li Qing's intervention, the 7 of Tian Yangsheng were destined to be defeated by those few. Tian Yangsheng looked at his brother lying on the bed, with murderous eyes. Brother Qing, I must take revenge. This time we robbed $100 million and it was all swallowed by that bastard. Li Qing's face was slightly moved when he heard this. $100 million. Zhang Xiao cried to death in hell. After all, he only robbed 10 million. This also shows that the mastermind behind the scenes must not be an ordinary person, and he can actually get a $100 million money transportation route. I don't object to your revenge, but you have to wait. After all, you guys have made quite a fuss, and the whole of Hong Kong is paying attention to this matter. Li Qing pondered for a moment. Tian Yangsheng nodded, knowing that now was not the best time. Then you stay in my security company first, and I will find a way to get your ID cards. Tian Yangsheng was touched when he heard Li Qing's words. This was probably the first time that his brother and sister had felt kindness in all these years. Tian Yangsheng's loyalty value 60% was achieved. Hong Kong movies, I can see the loyalty value, I am not panicked at all. Author, Ban Wanqing Buletin Liang. Chapter 100. Li Qing looked at the Mongkok Sihai group being sealed off by the police and smiled mysteriously. This was arranged by him. After killing Tan Chen, Li Qing had people collect evidence of Sihai's crimes. He made an anonymous report to the Criminal Investigation Department. The police were quick enough to arrest the backbone of the Sihai Group branch in just one day and seal off their company. Cut the grass to the root. Since you have offended them, don't hesitate to uproot them. As for the Sihai Group headquarters in Taiwan, this account must be kept in mind first. Brother Cheng. Xiao Ma limped to Li Qing's side. Xiao Ma, wait a while, I will buy this place, and the counterfeit banknotes will be handed over to you. Li Qing has handed over the counterfeit banknote business to Xiao Ma. After all, he is an expert in this area. In addition, he has the Sci-fi group's floppy disks. As long as he can get the machines and ink, counterfeit banknotes can be printed continuously. By the way, Hong Kong dollars and RMB are not acceptable, but US dollars and Taiwan dollars are. Li Qing narrowed his eyes and said in a low voice. Xiao Ma opened his mouth, but never said it. Song Zihao is actually more suitable for this position than him. Li Qing also knew this, but he did look down on Song Zihao. He helped Song Zihao repeatedly because of Xiao Ma and the counterfeit money business. This kind of indecisive character, if he is under his command, may cause a big problem. So Li Qing had no intention of subduing Song Zihao at all. Since he likes to drive a taxi, let him drive until he dies. It was the landlord association mentioned by Tan Cheng before his death that made him very curious. He also knew some mysterious organizations other than the triads, but he had never come into contact with them. It is said that Tan Cheng should not know about it with his status. It seems that it should be related to Wang Ren. He has almost no power in Wanwan province, so he had to put this matter aside for the time being. The next day, Li Qing brought the 7 brothers of Tian Yangsheng to the security company in charge of Feng Yuxiu. Old Feng, I brought you a guy. Li Qing smiled at Feng Yuxiu, who was teaching boxing. Feng Yuxiu has been recuperating since his last injury, especially the internal injuries caused by Xiaohu, which cannot be healed in a few days. Feng Yuxiu was also very happy to see Li Qing coming. But after seeing Tian Yangsheng behind him, his eyes gradually became sharp. He felt that the person Li Qing brought was not simple, and there were more than 1 or 2 lives on his hands. Unlike Li Qing, in his eyes, Li Qing also killed people, but there was still warmth, humanity. The people following Li Qing looked at people with indifference, as if they were looking at a group of lambs to be slaughtered. This made him very uncomfortable. Li Qing, who is behind you? Feng Yuxiu put away his smile. Come, let me introduce you, this is my new little brother. Li Qing introduced. When Tian Yangsheng heard the word little brother, his eyes moved slightly, but he still nodded with a smile. Li Qing also deliberately tested him. Seeing that the entry above his head had not changed, he knew that Tian Yangsheng had agreed. Hello, I am Tian Yangsheng. Feng Yuxiu looked at Tian Yangsheng's outstretched hand and shook it with a smile. Both sides felt the calluses on each other's hands. They smiled on their faces but didn't know what they were thinking in their hearts. Feng Yuxiu's old habit came back again. When he saw a master, he wanted to compete with him. He tilted his chin towards the boxing ring. Let's play. Tian Yangsheng glanced at the boxing ring and smiled, okay. Li Qing also wanted to see what the difference was between their kung fu. The two walked onto the boxing ring, and the younger brothers who were practicing kung fu next to them surrounded Li Qing and looked at the stage with him. Feng Yuxiu bowed to Tian Yangsheng. Tian Yangsheng was not a traditional martial artist, so he just nodded slightly. The two of them slightly distanced themselves, each occupying a corner, and moving slowly. Tian Yangsheng took the lead in attacking, stepped forward, and kicked Feng Yuxiu in the chest and abdomen. Feng Yuxiu understood Tian Yangsheng's tactics as soon as he saw them. The tactics in the army were aimed at knocking down the enemy faster. He couldn't help but show a trace of contempt on his face. The tactics in the army were good, but some of his movements were too stiff, and his lower body was unstable. Feng Yuxiu didn't dodge. Facing the oncoming straight kick, he lowered his waist and hips, used the carrying the mountain in Xingyi Iquan, and hit Tian Yangsheng's knee with his shoulder. Tian Yangsheng didn't have time to change his moves and was knocked back directly. The pain in his knee made him shake his legs. He attacked again unconvinced, and at the same time, Israeli Krav Maga, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and JFJ's Black Dragon 18 hands were all displayed. But they were resolved one by Feng Yuxiu, and then counterattacked. 10 minutes later, Tian Yangsheng stood on the stage and waved his hands. No more fighting. I admit defeat. This was the first time in his life that he felt inferior to others. The younger brothers who followed Feng Yuxiu to learn boxing cheered. Instructor is awesome. Instructor is awesome, broken voice. Instructor, I love you. Instructor, I want to give birth to you. Looking at the younger brothers under the ring, Feng Yuxiu wanted to laugh, letting them know that Chinese Kung Fu is not bad, but you just haven't practiced it to the fullest. If he really practiced 5 consecutive whips like Baoqiu, he himself might not be able to catch it. Li Qing looked at Feng Yuxiu on the stage and nodded in appreciation. At least Tian Yangsheng and others were beaten. Patting Tian Yangsheng on the shoulder as he walked off the ring, Li Qing comforted him. He is a true martial arts genius. Only a handful of people can beat him with their hands and feet. You are one of them, Feng Yuxiu smiled and said happily after hearing Li Qing's words. Li Qing smiled and said nothing, but Tian Yangsheng and the other 7 looked at him in amazement. The 6 people with him knew what Tian Yangsheng was like. The boss in front of them was even more powerful than Feng Yuxiu, who had just defeated Tian Yangsheng. This was beyond their imagination. The entry above Tian Yangsheng's head suddenly jumped 2 spaces. Loyalty 70%. No need, don't belittle yourself. Your gun skills are better than his. After all, the times have changed. Now is the era of guns being king. No matter how good your kung fu is, it can't stop a bullet. Of course, except for the pervert Li Qing. Then Li Qing arranged the 7 people of Tian Yangsheng to be gun instructors in the security company, and walked out of the door without paying attention to the younger brothers who were wailing all over the place. In the following time, the counterfeit money business was going on in full swing and was going smoothly. Li Qing ran between the Macau River on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday and the Hong Kong River on Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday. He had to run, and everyone asked him to pay his taxes. What could he do? Alas, being a man is just tired. Finally, on a sunny Sunday, he planned to go fishing with a helmet, but he was blocked at the door by his younger brother John Qiandan. John Qiandan looked solemn. Brother, Shenyang mobile phones are out of stock. Then he said, Brother Ding Qing in South Korea was attacked and his life or death is unknown. John Qiandan suddenly heard a clucking sound, looked up at Li Qing, and then quickly lowered his head. Go to South Korea.